And it's lights out.
Welcome back to another episode of Drive Through Penalty. I'm Sean. We're joined here with my father, Craig, as always. And this week we're headed to Brazil for another exciting GP in Sao Paulo. If you haven't watched the videos before, we're going to be covering everything happening in the F1 world right now. F1 fantasy. Craig's going to be doing a little history. And finally at the end, I'm going to be doing a lap in my sim so you guys can get a better visual of the track itself. I even discovered some rare footage in the vault that if you guys stick around to the end, I'll pull out. We got Craig in a race car. I don't know from what era, but...
Well, I think when you see the car, you'll figure out the era. And it's in Argentina.
Okay.
But it's as close as we could get to Brazil because Argentina doesn't have a race anymore.
Fair enough.
So before we land in Brazil, I think we need to... Let's try and just do a little quick recap of what happened last weekend. Because as we get closer and closer and closer to the end, these finishes become more and more important. And that's actually one of the things that's so exciting about Brazil, because it's always around the same time of year. So when you get into race 20 and numbers like that, now the Constructors' Championship, which was already done, but the Drivers' Championship is looming. And we had a little change for the first time this year. At who's leading, and Max has tightened it up a bit. I mean, it's exciting.
And funny enough, kind of everybody for the last few weeks has been talking about Oscar and Max. It was almost like they forgot about Lando. He was there the whole time, and last week he drove incredible. I also have to say, I mentioned last week that Mexico hasn't historically been my favorite track, but what a great...
It was a good race.
What a great race that was.
Yeah, it was. Other than the fact, there was one guy that was so far out in front. I said the same thing the week before. It was like driving his kids to ice cream on the corner.
The other shame was the VSC that was called in at the end of the race. It was terrible. If you watched, Carlos Sainz had parked his car in a safe zone. There was absolutely no reason to pull that virtual safety car out. And things could have changed. Max could have advanced and caught Charles.
If you're thinking that there could be a conspiracy theory, which everybody's kind of beginning to happen at McLaren, that particular call probably halted Oscar from passing and moving up another notch and gaining more points, and he'd still be in first place if that had happened.
That's a good point you bring up. So, Lando's leading the championship this week. Oscar's got a lot on the line right now. He's
not performing as well. But like I just finished saying, maybe they've done something to his car. I don't understand, but it's probably pressure more than anything. And having Max looming right behind him, that doesn't help either.
That's got to be terrifying.
Yeah. I think it was Ollie Berman who had a fantastic race last week. He said at one point he had Max Verstappen beside him when because Max got into the podium, and it cost Berman. But he says I almost shut down.
Yeah. I certainly would with Max behind me. So a ton on the line for a lot of drivers this week. I mean, even the constructors, you have Ferrari and Mercedes fighting, Red Bull's in the mix.
Yeah, there's big bucks there. You might not be the champion, but there's big bucks in the constructors part.
Yeah, and as we know, anything can happen in Brazil. We'll talk about the weather later, but it's looking a little gloomy as well. So, enough talk about last week, and let's jump right into this week's race.
So now that we've landed in Brazil, tell us about the track.
So we're back in Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix. We have 71 laps around the legendary Interlagos circuit. So it's a short 4.3 kilometer roller coaster running counterclockwise, packed with 15 corners. There's elevation changes and literally nonstop action. There's 2 DRS zones that make this place an incredible track for passing. You got passing down the main straight into the Senna S, and again on the run into turn 4. What's the key here? Balance is everything. You need downforce for the twisty middle sector, but straight line speed for that uphill blast to the finish. It's fast, it's unpredictable, it's full of drama. We're in Interlagos.
So I guess the only couple of things that you missed there, Sean, describing the track, is it's very big in the elevation changes. It's similar to Mexico, not as extreme. So it is going to be thinner air. That's got to affect it somehow. And when you do your lap, I have to remind you, it's anti-clockwise. So make sure you turn left in that first corner.
Thank you for the reminder.
Okay.
And you usually ask me what the first corner's like, so I'm just...
What's the first corner like, Sean?
It is one of the best first corners on the circuit. Laugh it up, but I'm telling you, it is incredible. You're coming down to the long straight, and then all of a sudden you're hitting the brakes hard, and you're heading downhill for a left, right, and then onto a nice straight. It's there's going to be chaos there. Mark my words.
So I know the corners are really tight. So does that affect the passing, or?
You're going to see a ton of passing this week. That first left corner is a great place to pass, but also a great place to create some chaos. The 2 DRS zones on the track also offer great opportunities for the drivers to pass. And then you'll see some of the more skilled drivers catch guys on the inside in some of those winding turns.
So do rookies do well?
So I have to be honest with you. When I first started getting into sim racing, I found this track to be the easiest. It was the first track that I actually want to race on. Maybe because it's a lot shorter. That being said, I think the rookies will like this track. I think they'll be successful here. Mind you, throw a little bit of rain, throw a little bit of a torrential downpour in here, and everything changes.
And there's a real history of rain totally messing up this Grand Prix.
Well, I mean, look at last year's Grand Prix. Max Verstappen in that crappy Red Bull. He really showed you how good of a driver he was last year.
It reminded me of like when Schumacher used to run in the rain, Ayrton Senna. I mean, some guys just shine, you know.
Yeah, it comes down to balance this week. It comes down to strategy, and it really comes down to tire management. So overall, just it's going to be a great Grand Prix and one of my favorites, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I wanted to talk briefly about 3 of the 33 Brazilian Formula One drivers over the years. There's 2 that have won 3 championships, and there's one that's won 2 world championships. And to start with, I think it was Emerson Fittipaldi. And Fittipaldi's family was into racing. I think there was 5 family members over the years, as recently as maybe 3-4 years ago. So Emerson Fittipaldi won it a couple of times. I think it was 72 and 74. And I saw him race both those years. I saw him race when he was with the Lotus. You know, the black and gold John Player Special Lotus.
One of the best liveries of all time.
Fantastic. There's only one I like more, and you know which one that is. And he also won in 74 from McLaren. So that was kind of the fact that you can still see him being interviewed in that guys like him and Jackie Stewart, they lived through that, because there was a lot that didn't live through those, as we've mentioned many times before. So another really notable Brazilian driver after Emerson Fittipaldi was Felipe Massa. And the interesting thing about, he won 3 world championships, but the interesting thing about that, I read today that do you know about Crashgate that happened? I mentioned, I think, a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
Where he had a chance to win the world championship, and Alonso's partner, he crashed intentionally. He was told to by the team. And that way the safety car came out and just slowed everything down. Alonso ended up winning the race. So my buddy Bernie and Max Mosley, the 2 guys that were running Formula One at the time, they actually admitted in an interview years later that they found out that it was intentional, and that's an absolute no-no in Formula One racing. And there's now a court case. It's before the courts this week. I think it's tomorrow.
Wow.
And could be decided by Friday whether or not it's worth pursuing. So, you know, they tried to keep it under, and, you know, then if people started retiring. I think maybe one day we'll find out if Kennedy died by which manner. But anyway, so they are dancing around it because they're trying to avoid any, you know, Formula One compromise, and they were trying to keep everything above board, because back in those days, it wasn't the kind of moneymaker that it is today. So they were worried about everything. So the 3rd Brazilian driver, who he also won 3 world championships, was Ayrton Senna. And, you know, boy, he's up there in top 2, top 3. And tragically, he lost his life. But the first Brazilian Grand Prix was in 1973. And it's moved around various times, but it is... it's crazy. The drivers love going there. Everybody likes Brazil. I hope they have fun this weekend.
We're going to have fun.
Yeah. Okay, Sean, maybe it's time that we show the folks that famous corner one in Brazil.
Okay, any requests for what car I'm driving this week?
Well, Bortoletto's Brazilian, so take that car.
Okay, you're putting me in a kick Sauber this week? All right, let's go.
It should be good by now.
All right.
You're wearing the green.
We are here at the legendary Interlagos, heading uphill to start the lap, braking hard into the start of the Senna S, the best overtaking spot on the track, and taking as much curb as possible here into Curva do Sol. DRS is open to start the second sector of the lap. Great place to pass down the straight. And braking hard into turn 4, flat out at turn 5, and heading uphill into turn 6. Quick downshift and back onto the throttle. Tricky right downhill turn. And we have to maximize momentum here into turn 9. Another sharp right here at Bico de Pato. This one's named after the shape of a duck's bill. Fast left here as we head into the final corner. And a good exit here is key as we head back onto the long uphill final straight of this lap. Taking as much of the inside here as possible, DRS open, and that is a lap at Interlagos.
All right, Sean, thanks for the lap. Nice try. But it is what it is. That's Bortoletto's car, so.
Okay, we'll put this time up against Bortoletto's when he
That's
puts
right.
his qualifying in, and we'll find out, okay?
Yeah, it'll be neck and neck, I'm sure. But I think, and again, we're going to talk about fantasy, but the important part, it's just like the Drivers' Championship, the Fantasy Championship is coming down to the wire as well. And again, he's going to give you some information that you can use to make your decisions. And remember, there's only a few races left. This is a sprint. And make sure you look at what chips you have left. Might be time to use them.
Welcome back to the F1 Fantasy segment. And we all know where we're going this weekend. We're headed to Brazil. So we talked about it earlier. If you have chips you haven't used already, definitely want to start considering using them and deploying them all as soon as possible, because we don't have very many race weekends left. Myself, I have 3 chips, so I specifically have to plan which race weekends I'm going to use each and every one of them. Unless something drastically changes last minute, we have to kind of call an audible. But I have my limitless chip, I have my no negative chip, which I've saved for a reason, I'll tell you why in a second, and I have my wild card. So most importantly, my no negative and my limitless are arguably 2 massive chips to use, and I'm gonna seriously be looking into using one of them this weekend, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But this is my team as it stands right now. It wasn't as pretty as the last weekend. Lawson and Alonso, unfortunately, were negative 0.6 million each, which is not great for our overall team budget. But that's okay, we're gonna just work with what we got. We finished second place in our pool last week in terms of points. We were 1 point behind the first place, which had Haas as their second constructor. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for us. But we're gonna jump over to the budget builder tool as we always do, and we're gonna seriously consider dropping Lawson, and we're gonna seriously consider dropping Alonso for somebody who's gonna increase our budget next week, hopefully. I do have the option of using Limitless this weekend, but I'm going to actually wait, and there's a reason for it. So I'm gonna jump over to the 14-day weather forecast here for the weekend of the Grand Prix, and as you can see, it does not look pretty outside. We have thunderstorms during practice and sprint quali. Saturday, again, same thing, just rain, rain, rain all weekend, and then of course Monday it gets nice. This is just typical in Brazil. In 2023, we had 6 DNFs, and the average for any other race that year was 2. And in 2024, we had 5 DNFs. That's when we got to see Max shine. But holy, it can take a toll on your team, especially if your DNF is on a driver that you have a 2 times on or even a 3 times on. So that being said, and it calling for rain as always, we are probably going to activate that no negative chip and just hope that all of the drivers get taken out, and this is going to be our big differentiator. You know, you can have a 100-point swing plus if things go the way they have in the past and you have the right team. So We're probably gonna activate no negative. We're gonna jump over to the budget builder here and take a look at who's projected to make the most amount of money this weekend. And that is Behrman, Bortoletto, Sonoda, Gasly, Colapinto, Albon, and I'm gonna go all the way down to Antonelli because it is a sprint. I do expect him to have 17 points put up on the board, but behind him is Stroll, and I'm not confident. He's the worst in qualifying. Lastly, we're gonna jump over to the team calculator. This is where you can plug in your overall team budget, right here where it says maximum budget. So I'm currently at 129 million, which is somewhat strong. And over here, it's gonna show me their projection for the best team possible in terms of scoring points. So if I'm able to put something like this together, which I fortunately have McLaren, Mercedes, Verstappen, and Behrman, if I can rearrange these three, I can potentially put out around 227 points, which is quite high. Again, going back to the budget builder, I am most likely going to consider putting in one of these top guys because, again, I'm still going for that budget. If we can secure a high enough budget in the last 2 weeks and have another premium in there, that could be the difference. So we're still going for it. But looking at my team here, I'm going to drop Lawson, I'm going to drop Alonso, and I'm going to see who's available in that price category. Fortunately, guys like Gasly are almost at the floor. So most likely he's going to make my squad. If you watch the race, he's been really good here in the past, especially in the rain. Behrman, he's just been the little miracle kid. Antonelli, fingers crossed. And as this last driver, you know, I could put in Sainz, but he does need 20 points. Might be a good option. He's skilled. He's in a Williams. I could go Bortoletto as well. Again, more likely to make money. But overall, do I think Sainz is going to score more points next weekend? Possibly. So it's probably going to look like this, or it's probably going to look something like this. We're going to have to watch our qualifying for the sprint before we make that decision. FP1 is going to kind of make a difference, but calling for rain, keep that in mind. If you have your no negative chip, maybe you want to activate it. If you have your limitless, watch FP1, watch the sprint qualifying, and then make your decision then. It's a great track. These skilled drivers are going to thrive, but we'll see what happens. All the best to y'all. Good luck. If you have any questions, drop them down below. Would love to see your team builds. Drop those down below, and let's get back into the video.
Okay, thanks, Sean. As I always say, keep what you want, get rid of what you don't, but at least you have that information now. So Brazil's known for its electric crowd. It's known for its unpredictable weather. It's known to also be a deciding race, sometimes in the champions, the champion of the constructors, the champion of the drivers. This is the Brazilian Grand Prix, and it's an important one again.
And I'm excited about it. But why don't we dig out this footage? I got something for you guys. Here's a clip of my father racing in whatever era that was, but check it out.
Over the years, the racing car has changed, and the necessity for the sensitive and precise handling of the faster, lighter Grand Prix cars of the post...
Well, that's quite a clip, isn't it? It brings me back, way back.
I bet it does. Again, guys, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe.
We're in Brazil. Let's start with the Churrasco and the Cerveja.
I'm on it. Let's do it.